Here we are at Mount Panorama Circuit in Bathurst Circuit. I'm going to be bringing some A-Class racing with the Auto Union Type D. On the takeoff, I was a little overconfident in my grip and lost a little control, but coming up to the first turn, we're going to have some classic Forza wrecking as usual. We're going to try to make it back on the track and make our way up the ranks. Currently in 12th place, and good thing about this car is it does have really good straight line speed, except for the AMG that just passed me. Alright, coming up to this next corner, braking a little early, trying to watch for traffic, trying not to hit the AMG in the back, cutting in a little too deep. I'm going to try to come around him, but he does have a little more top end to me. I revved out second thinking I was going to make it to that corner a little bit sooner, but I was definitely wrong on that one. AMG keeps on hitting the wall, and I barely tapped him and put him into the wall. Then I guess I got rammed by somebody from the back. Not sure who that was, but I'm still stable behind a voluptuous pink Dodge Challenger. Alright, trying to make it through the corners. Cutting in a little early, trying to make a pass up on the inside. Not going to make it, going to lose grip just a little bit. Alright, just going to bide my time, be very patient. This twisted circuit is really hard to pass because it's very narrow. Alright, coming in here, we got the Challenger. Ooh, tapping them in the back, putting them in the wall. Hey, can't help that mate, just to keep on going. Alright. Now this guy in front of me, I raced him earlier in an earlier race, and he does not have the straight line speed, but he can definitely get me in the corners. As we scream down the back stretch of Bathurst, we are going to try to catch what seems to be a Ford Escort. I'm not positive on that. Alright, braking a little early, still getting used to the car. Taking that apex kind of good. Cadillac off to the side kind of startled me a little bit, drove off into the grass, but I'm keeping it stable for the most part. Alright, coming back around to the next lap, the Stradale going a little wide. Alright, setting up this turn. Taking that apex beautifully. Well, it says it's good, but I thought I took it great. Gonna get some of this draft. Gonna try to move up on the right side of him. Alright, successfully passed him. Coming up to this corner. Stradale early on the brakes. I'm gonna dive on the inside, but not gonna get it. Gonna try to catch up to him, but he's still in the Stradale. He still has the acceleration over me. That is the one thing about this car that's not great. The acceleration is not too great, so you have to keep your momentum as you go through a track. Every turn has to be precise, and you have to gain every little bit of speed that you can possible. Alright, coming up here, losing a little grip, going a little sideways. And a Cadillac coming up on my left side. Now the Stradale here messes up, and I literally died because that wheel went straight into the cockpit. And he just revved all over me, so I know my driver's dead, but we're going to keep on going. I'm losing a little grip, got to get back in it. That is the one thing about this car that I don't like, is once you lose grip, it is really hard to get it back. Alright, coming into these turns, going to try to make up some ground here. Now, when tuning this car, it had a lot of oversteer up front and a lot of understeer in the back, so the back end would always swing out. And it took a little bit of adjusting to get it just right, but once I found the right camber, the car is buttery smooth through the corners. Hitting a little bit of lag. I don't know if it was the room that I was in or maybe my connection went weak for a moment, but I've been getting that here lately. Alright, gonna push that corner a little bit harder this lap. Gonna go a little wide on here, but didn't go off. Alright, coming up on the Stradale. I probably won't be able to beat him in the corners, so I'm going to have to beat him in the straight, hopefully, depending on what kind of build he went with. Alright, going into the final lap, having terrible times. At 2:29, that's bad. Alright, coming through that corner quite well, taking the apex as hard and aggressively as possible. I'm going to be pushing every corner in this last lap. Alright, coming up on the Stradale again. Alright, going a little wide, been a little confident in the brakes, which the brakes aren't that great. But this Auto Union Type D is actually a really good A-class car. It's very solid. Has enough turning. Could use a little more acceleration, but it can't help that. But it has great handling, great top end, just lacks in acceleration and braking. Alright, coming up here. Gonna high gear through this section. Take my apexes, be very, very cautious, but banged up against the wall anyways. Gonna try to catch the Stradale, hoping that Stradale makes a mistake. Ooh, going a little wide, but not enough to really lose too much speed. Alright, slowing down, taking the corners, setting up my apexes. Alright, now I've caught up to the Stradale. Hopefully I can catch him in the straight. Alright, we're coming up on him. Ooh, right on his bumper. Let's see if I can catch him in the straightaway though. His acceleration is much better than mine, but I know my top end is probably better than his. Alright, catching him in the draft. In the fourth gear. Coming across him. Let's see if I can hold him off. See if I can hold him off to the end of the race. Alright, coming up to the final corners of Bathurst. Ooh, going a little wide, but not too bad. Losing a little grip around there, pushing it much harder than I need to be. The Stradale falling behind. Coming up to the last corner of this race with only 10 seconds to get across the line. And it looks like we are going to beat the Stradale over the line and take 5th place. Not a bad race, even though I did die from a Cadillac wheel to the head. This has been J Runer. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe. Look up the tune underneath J Runer1, and thanks for watching.